Hi, welcome to the Presbyterian website. We're so glad that you have come by to check us out. My name is Ian Sears, one of the pastors at Grace Pres, and I'm here with Pastor Darren Smith, who is our pastor of youth and families, and Miss Jenny Camp, who has been our children's director for the last 5 or so years, is now our nursery director, but she and her husband have been involved in youth work and children's work and ministry for the life of Grace Pres since they have been apart. So we are here. We just came off a great conference, a Parenting Connect conference last weekend, which was designed to help us recast and reclarify our vision for what it means to be intentionally covenantal. We had Stephen Estock from headquarters Atlanta, as well as Sue Jakes, come up, teach and preach to us and draw from the scriptures, particularly Deuteronomy 8, what it means to think covenantally and apply covenantal principles in a way that we want to disciple parents and train our children, the next generation. So I just wanted to have some conversation with you both and see what are some of the things that you got out of the conference, what were some important applications or truths regarding what you heard and were taught. First of all, tell us about your family. How many children do you have?
Okay. We've got 3 kids. We've adopted all of our kids, ages 12, 10, and 5.
Excellent. And you?
We have 3 girls as well, 7, 5, and 19 months.
So both have their hands full in terms of covenantal parenting for sure. So what are some of the things, Darren, out of the conference that were especially meaningful to you?
I think some of the things that were really helpful for me was just how they helped to give a broader vision of the role of the church. We've been thinking about what does it look like to be covenantal, what does that mean within our church, and I was thinking about the Psalm 78 passage where the psalmist is writing about what does this look like to live in a community where people live together with kids, what's our role, what's our calling. And it's interesting as you look at what he's trying to say. He's saying that there's a need within the community, for the community, to value the kids, that we would not hide the truths of God, of His greatness to them. And then to press into the lives of the adults within the community of what does it look like for you not to hide these truths. And so we've walked away from that asking some questions of what does that look like for us here at Grace. It's meant for us that we are challenging our adults to value the next generation. We're wanting them to know our kids' names. We're wanting them to pray for them. We're wanting them to invest in their lives so that as they grow, they're growing in a relationship. So hopefully the fruits of that are seen through that investment spiritually. We're also just thinking covenantally. We're wanting our children to be able to receive teaching. We want them to be around us talking about who God is and His greatness. And so we want our kids to be involved in what we do as a community. We want them in worship. We want them participating in the sacraments. We're wanting them just hearing, being in places where they're going to hear adults and even youth talk about what this means.
One thing you said earlier on was really important to emphasize. So sort of the traditional model has been, particularly when kids go into junior high, senior high, is to kind of isolate them into peer relationships from the community. But this covenantal idea is a little bit different.
Yeah. And it's not that we don't value that community of friendship with the junior high and senior high. But I think what we're seeing is that the investments that are placed upon our kids from adults, but also the calling of the kids into our community, calling them to be a part of serving within the community, we just feel like that gives them a greater passion for the church, to be a part of the church and to stay connected to the church, because statistics are starting to show that we're needing a new way in order to keep the kids within the church moving forward.
Yeah. So Jenny, what were some of the things out of the conference that were especially meaningful to you?
I think Darren and I both said this. It was challenging and yet encouraging. It really called me not only as a parent to kind of look at how are we living out Deuteronomy 6. what does that look like in our home? How are we talking about in the morning when our kids wake up? What am I doing before my kids go to school? What does that look like at night? Right now we're not walking along the road. How are we living out and we're driving in the car to and from stuff. I remember Ian's wife saying, how did you teach your kids all the catechism? And she was like, I'd use the time I was given. And she was like, I redeemed the time when we were in the car. I had it printed off, above my visor, and I would pull it down and look at it, read questions when we were at stock fights, and that type of thing. And that's really stuck with me of, okay, how can we use the time that we're given to teach, impress these truths upon our kids? And that just kind of made me re-look at what we're doing. It's easy just to kind of get busy and let some of that stuff slide. But, just as a time of renewal, and for my husband and I to sit down and say, how can we do this better? What are we missing? And I think, too, for my husband to hear a lot of the things as well.
These are some of the core distinctives and core values that we just wanted to convey to you regarding our vision for what it means to be intentionally covenantal and to really have a heart and a passion to disciple our children, that generation next, to move into their world, their culture, which is much different than what it is even now, to be kingdom-minded warriors for the sake of Christ and His cross. So thank you for coming by, and we hope to see you again soon.